Okay, good morning, everybody, to the Nottinghamshire Pension Fund Committee. My welcome members of the committee and members of public officers also, and anybody, particularly welcome Talani Malife, the chair of our SAB group. And I don't know if John Raisin is going to be joining us later or is on the screen also. And I would also like to introduce our new officer, Dom Monaghan, who's our new Democratic Service Officer, following the footsteps of Joe. And the meeting, may I remind you that the meeting's being broadcast live. Please use your microphones when speaking, turn them off when you've finished, so that they can be heard on the broadcast. There are no members of the public here, so I won't go through the notes about the public. So we'll move on to the first item on the agenda, which is the minutes of the last meeting, which we held on September the 12th, earlier in the year. Oh, sorry, no. It is. Okay, so can I ask the committee members if they approve the minutes from last time? Okay, thank you very much. Lovely. Can I just ask, once the minutes have been agreed, can I just ask if Joe would provide an update to a question that Councillor Waters raised around winter fuel payments at the last meeting? I just think it's the right time to do that.
Thank you. We'll keep this brief. I understand Sarah's responded to Councillor Waters directly, but because the question was asked in the meeting, we thought it would be useful for committee members to know. The question related to whether there were discretions that would allow payments to kind of compensate the withdrawal of the winter fuel allowance for pensioners. Officers went away and there is no provision or discretion that would allow this. To do so would be ultra vires, and as such any payment in respect of pensioners would not be permitted. So that hopefully squares it off for you all.
Okay. Hopefully you understand the answer there, Councillor Waters. Okay, thank you. Okay, item number 2, apologies for us. So Dom, could you please tell us what's happening with that?
Thank you, Chair. So we have Councillor Jim Creamer attending as a substitute for Councillor Sheila Place, who sends apologies under the category of other reasons. We also have Councillor Chris Barnfather attending as a substitute for Councillor Tom Smith, who sends apologies under the category of other county council business. We've also had apologies from Councillor Devinder Verdi from Rushcliffe Borough Council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Item number 3, declaration of interest by members and officers. Does any councillor or officer have any interest in any matter on the agenda that they need to disclose, please? Okay, looking around the room, there are no declarations. Thank you. Move on to the first substantive item, then the item number 4, Pension Regulators General Code of Practice, with an update and action. So before I hand over to Joe to introduce the report, I'd like to move the recommendation on page 12 and 13 of the agenda pack. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you. Joe, would you take us through the report, please?
Thank you. As you'll be aware from previous updates that we've brought to the committee, the new Pension Regulators General Code of Practice came into effect on the 28th of March this year. Funds are expected to comply or demonstrate that they've made good progress on those by the end of March 25. The Funds commissioned Barnet Waddingham to undertake a reverse gap analysis, which is Appendix A to the report. The gap analysis also assessed how the fund was positioned in respect to the recommendations arising from the Good Governance Review. In response to its findings and the recommendations it raised, we produced an action plan which is attached as Appendix B. The actions are designed in the first instance to ensure that the fund complies with the General Code, and in some instances the actions exceed those requirements and give the fund a head start in implementing the Good Governance recommendations. You'll see that arising from the review work, 2 new strategies have been proposed. We've got a training strategy and a conflicts of interest protocol. Now, while these documents are in themselves new, the context capture current practice and constitutional requirements. They also reflect the requirements of the regulator, and it sits those within the context of the fund. The training strategy is attached at Appendix C to the report, and the conflicts of interest protocol is Appendix D. You'll also see in a report in a couple of items' time that updates have been made to other fund strategies, and a number of those proposed amendments are to support compliance with the code. At the committee's meeting in April 25, we're planning on bringing you an update on the progress we've made in delivering and any actions outstanding from that action plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe. Just before we open that up, obviously there's a lot of work going into this. I mean, the action plan is quite detailed. So I think the overall question really is: Are we happy that we're going to be okay by March? And I think we have confidence that we will be. So I'll open up to any questions, comments, please. Okay. I don't see any. Okay, so we'll move to the vote then. The recommendations and noting report. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item number 5. Nottinghamshire Local Pensions Board annual review for 2 years. Before I hand over to John Reason to introduce the report, I'd like to move the recommendation on page 90. A seconder, please. Thank you very much. Okay, John, would you like to give us your report, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. It gives me great pleasure as advisor to the board to present the pension board reviews for 2022-3 and 23-24 to the Pension Fund Committee. These 2 annual reviews have been prepared by myself in consultation with the board chair, Talani Malifi. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go through the reports in detail, but just make a few broad comments. And then if members wish to ask me any questions or Talani any questions, we'd be very happy to answer them. Under the terms of reference, the board is in accordance with the Public Service Pensions Act 2013 and the LGPS Regulations 2013. It has the role of assisting the Pension Fund Committee. The board has no decision-making role. The boards were set up to give employers and employees within the fund a greater role in the actual governance of the fund. And therefore, the boards must consist of equal numbers of employees and employers. And the full membership of the Nottinghamshire board is 8 members, 4 employers, 4 employees, from which a chair is chosen. At this point, it is Talani. The focus of the board really is on the overall fund governance, and particularly also pensions administration, because I think these are the 2 issues which most directly concern and impact on both the employers and the individual members. But therefore, consideration of risk management and pensions administration are particular focuses of the board, and you'll see that having read the reports. In this respect, I'd very much like to thank the fund officers for both the quality of their reports and the oral presentations they have given to the board over the past 2 years. The members of the board, and we have had issues over certainly recruitment and retention. We haven't had a full board of 8 now for, I think, 3 or 4 years at least. The board has very much relied on 3 members in particular, long-standing members, Talani, Mark Heppenstall of the GMB Union, and Councillor Regulator, all of whom have been extremely conscientious to actively consider the reports before the board. And those 3 members in particular have been very positive in their constructive questioning, comments and observations on the reports. And I'd like to thank them as well as the officers. I think the greatest challenge for the board, as I say, is in the recruitment of members, and that is something I know the officers are looking at, but I would say that. I say particularly again, the thanks to the 3 members, because I think the board really would have collapsed if it had not been for those 3 members. In order to undertake their role, clearly the board members need training and continuing updating on developments in the LGPS, and that's much of my role, and again, that's covered in the 2 reports. While investment decision making is not a function of the board and never could be, the board clearly does have a role in wishing to understand the fund investment governance is appropriate. And therefore, during 24-25, we did receive updates on the fund policies. But as I say, towards the end of the 23-24 report, it would be helpful if we received this year a briefing on investment policy and governance. We did 2 years ago, and it's in the first report, received a briefing from William Bourne, which was extremely helpful and was greatly appreciated by the board. And I'd hope that sometime during the present financial year, perhaps William might be able to come along again and brief the board as he did the last time. Also, I refer in there to receiving some sort of update from the LGPS Central Pool. Well, that's actually happened. We received an update about 2.5 years ago. And I have to say, and this is purely a personal comment, I found the approach of the pool, and I deal with 2 other pools elsewhere because I deal with 4 other LGPS funds apart from Nottinghamshire. I found the approach of the pool this time around, I have to say, very positive. They sent along their chief executive and 3 senior personnel, and that's just to a pension board. That's not the pension committee, so I was extremely impressed. And it did appear to me that they were genuinely seeking to engage, understand and respond to the needs of Nottinghamshire, and I hope that progresses and that, you know, given there may be announcements today, things go positively in that respect. I will cease here and be happy to answer any questions that you might put to myself or alternatively to the chair of the board. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, John. May I just start off and say that, so looking at the conclusions paragraph at the end of your report, that it says that we were given assurance that we're clearly seeking that to properly comply with obligations to our members and obviously the legal stuff as well. So it's good to see that. Is there anything else? I know that you mentioned William in that. William, do you want to come in and answer John's remark, please?
I think it's a good thing to see that the board is becoming more involved with the kind of the management of the fund, because I believe it's a great protection and actually to help cover this committee's back as well. I think I agree with John's comments about the pool. It is still early days, but my sense is that the new regime, but certainly seeing Richard Lord Eads coming in, has been a good thing. I think the future of the board is really dependent on whether you can get the right members to come on board it, and if you can't, then you kind of need to think about what needs to be done to encourage people to become members of the board, and that really is the key to the successful operation of the board going forward.
Okay. So may I just ask, officer, whose responsibility is that? Is that that's the board's responsibility, is it not, or is? How does that
Well,
work?
it is ultimately the administering authorities.
The ministerial authority. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments, please, about the report? Yes, Councillor Chapman.
Just reading the conclusion and the last bit of the penultimate or the middle paragraph. It's saying there's no specific brief in the pension board in respect to the pension investment issues. Is that not an obligation? Because everything else in the pension world seems to be full of rules, regulations, and obligations. I would have thought there'd been a sort of SLA, a service level agreement, that this is what we provide on a regular basis, but apparently not. Or have I got it all wrong?
I can't answer that one. I'd like some help with that, please. If anybody can help with that. I'm not sure if that's how it's ever worked.
Right,
Maybe it could be considered.
Just bog standard practice.
Yes,
you know,
understand.
let them know what our investment strategy is. Otherwise, I don't see the point of them sitting around a table. Right, I mean, all processes might be okay, but it's the outcomes that are important. I think it's important that they know the outcomes. I just thought the manual report would have been obligatory.
Okay, I think that's a very good question. And can we come back with an answer to you before the next meeting? Thank you. Any other questions or comments, please? Okay, no? Well, thank you very much, John, for your report. Thank you, Talani, for coming along. And no doubt you'll hear for some rest of the meeting, so that'll be great. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Chair. I'll leave now if you're content with that.
Thank you. For
Thank you.
for the until we get the exclusion bit. Yes, thank you. Okay, so the next item, excuse me, is item number 6. It's a review of the fund's strategies. And actually, no, we need to move to the vote, don't we, on the board annual review? For no, sorry, yes.
Chair, we made a decision at full council.
Yeah.
And full council is the administering authority.
Yeah.
Picking up on Graham's point.
Yeah.
That we didn't vote on noting report.
Right. Okay. Fine. Okay. So that's a noting report. Thank you. Item 6, review of fund strategies. Before I hand over to Joe to introduce this report, I'd like to move the recommendation on page 112.
I will second that, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Sue. Joe, take us through the report, please.
Thank you. I appreciate you shared an awful lot of paper with you for this one, so I will.
Yes.
I'll try and run you through the edited highlights, but I'll try and do it as concisely as I can. You'll be aware that the fund undertakes regular reviews of its strategies to ensure that they remain fit for purpose. The last one of these was brought to committee in April 2023, and we've now undertaken a further review considering legislative updates, updated working practices, new projects, and through the lens of the General Code and the Good Governance Review. Each of the strategies included in the report has been reviewed, and if you'll bear with me, I'll give you a quick run through of the key changes. A new appendix has been added to the administration strategy, which summarises employer administration duties and responsibilities. References have also been updated to bring the strategy in line with national developments. A number of small changes are proposed for the breaches strategy, updating references to take account of the single code and adding arrangements for the review of the strategy. The updates to the climate strategy relate to company engagement, with information added to the table setting out issues and objectives regarding 3 companies added to the climate stewardship plan following last year's climate risk analysis. Changes to the communication strategy include revisions to the pensioners and dependents and scheme employers sections to reflect updated systems and practices. A number of new sections have also been added, covering the Nottinghamshire Pension Fund Committee and Local Pensions Board, pensions dashboards, key performance indicators, and data protection. The communications plan has been updated to reflect progress on various projects and updated ways of working. No material amendments are proposed to the funding strategy statements. The governance compliance statement includes new sections reflecting the training strategy and conflicts of interest protocol. It also includes more information on the role of the local pensions board and the role of the chairs of both the board and the committee. This is in line with the outcome of the reverse gap analysis on code compliance. Narrative has also been updated on several of the compliance principles in the table at the end of the document, including a new principle addressing conflicts of interest. Finally, the investment strategy statement has been updated to reflect the changes that were approved by committee at its March meeting. The sections on currency risk and UK exposure have been expanded. Other minor amendments include an updated job title and small clarifications in the narrative. There have also been a number of small amendments which include things like formatting, typographical amendments and tweaks in language to help improve the readability of the documents. In conjunction with that work, you'll remember that you had training about the ongoing work to revise the fund's risk register. The revised version will be presented to you at the next meeting of the committee alongside a revised risk management strategy. This has also been reviewed in line with all those other principles, but it makes sense to bring them both to you at the same time, seeing as they're so heavily related. And just to reassure you that even though this work's been going on, the fund's existing risk management strategy will remain in place until such time as you approve a new one, and risks do still continue to be actively managed. We've been using the new draft risk register to do this, which has allowed us to test and refine the document so that it can be used in the way that best supports the needs of the fund, and we'll share that with you in December. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe. Again, a lot of stuff. It seems like they're small changes, but you've still got to go through all that work to enable you to get to that point. So I appreciate the hard work behind this. Any questions or comments about the strategies? And if so, can you refer to which appendix it's in, please, and the page number? Thank you. Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you to the officers for such a comprehensive report. It was really insightful for me to pick through this and go through it all. Overall, I think there's a lot of positives which are being put forward in this, but it's not something I can support at the moment due to our climate change policies, that we're looking at engagement rather than exclusion, and similar for our tobacco investments. I would, however, like to draw the committee's attention to page 198, and that's the very last paragraph about demographic risks. I think this is quite key and really important to our local pension fund, that we can tailor our investments and what we do for the benefit of the local residents and members right here in Nottinghamshire. And it is a concern that the government are looking at mega funds, which, where you look at things like demographic risks and trends, a mega fund really would impact our members. So I think there's a strong argument when you look at some of these risk factors to keep local funds as they are. That was all I wanted to put there, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Councillor Waters. And not going to go into a debate about the government's intentions. I was going to mention it in a later report from the feedback we've done on a consultation. But thank you very much for your comments. And I do understand the clarity and consistency in your comment about climate issues for the fund. Any other questions or comments, please? No? Okay. Thank you very much. So we're asked to approve the strategies documents. So all those in favour, please. That's unanimous, so I don't need to ask if there's any against or abstention. Oh, sorry, there's one abstention. Any two abstentions. Thank you. Two abstentions. Thank you. That's carried. Okay. The next item number is item number 7, Government Actuaries Department, Section 13 Summary. Okay, so before I hand over to Tamsin to introduce the report, I'd like to approve the recommendation on page 252. And a seconder, please.
I will second it.
Thank you. No. Okay. Tamsin, would you take us through the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. The Government Actuary was appointed by the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, MHCLG, to report under Section 13 of the Public Services Pensions Act 2013 in connection with the 2022 actuarial valuation of the funds in the LGPS. The report was broadly positive, reflecting the improvements in funding levels since the previous valuation, and contained several suggestions for consideration by the Scheme Advisory Board. In the appendices of the report is included a table calculating funding levels and 3 other indications of solvency risk for all the LGPS funds. With one exception, Nottinghamshire has entirely green flags, indicating that there are no material issues that may contribute to a recommendation for remedial action in order to ensure solvency. However, the fund has one white flag. This is an advisory flag relating to a scenario where there is a 15% fall in the value of return-seeking assets, and GAD calculates the resulting change in average employer contribution rates as a percentage of core spending power. Effectively, they track the employer's ability to pay higher contributions. The threshold is considered breached if the fund would, under this scenario, have a funding level below 100%, and contributions rates would rise by more than 3% of core spending power. For Nottinghamshire, the percentage comes out as 3.1%, and the slight excess has prompted the white flag. The assumptions used by GAD for their calculations are standardised and may not be appropriate to the fund's particular circumstances, and no further action is considered necessary as a result of this flag.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tamsin. I open that up then. Any questions or comments, please, on the report? Yes, William.
Just a very quick comment. As word context, 2 funds out of 86 had an amber flag, and I think about 15 had white flags like Nottinghamshire does. As Tamsin said, we've only just drifted very slightly the wrong side, a couple of their metrics. I really think there's nothing at all to worry about on this.
Okay. Thank you very much for that vote of confidence, William. That's very good. Thank you. Any other further comments or questions, please? Okay, so the recommendation, I guess, is any further action. Tamsin said there's no further actions required. So everybody vote in favour of no further actions, please. Thank you. Any abstentions? Any against? Oh, okay. I guess that's unanimous. I didn't see one of the hands over there. Sorry. Oh, yes, 4-4. Thank you. So that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to item number 8, local for Strategic Investment Forum 2024. Again, beforehand, Tam's introduced report. I'd like to move the recommendation on page 259. Second, please. Thank you very much, Sue. Tamsin, take us to the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. The 2024 Local Authority Pension Fund Strategic Investment Forum was held 1st to the 3rd of July this year. The conference was attended by Councillor Eric Kerry and myself. Details of the main sessions are set out in the report. The conference was excellent, with an intense programme of relevant investment topics. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tamsin, and I can concur with you that it was very intense, actually, and not just the presentations and the discussions and debates, but also the networking afterwards. It was very, very good. So I think it was a really useful conference to attend. So thanks for that. Okay, any questions or comments, please? No. Okay. Well, let's move to the vote then. We do have to approve that we attend appropriate conferences in future. So all those in favour, please. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 9, it's the Pension Fund Treasury Management Mid-Year Report for 24-25. Before I hand over to Kieran, I'd like to move the recommendation on page 263, please. Just have a seconder, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Kieran, would you take us through your report, please?
Thank you, Chair. The Pension Fund Committee has responsibility for setting the Treasury Management strategy each year for the Pension Fund and receives 2 further performance reports during the year. This is the mid-year report showing performance till the end of September 2024. In the report, Treasury Management, the term Treasury Management refers to the management of the pension fund's cash deposits as opposed to the fund's long-term strategic investments. Treasury Management activity is undertaken by the investments team and overseen by the Council's Treasury Management Group. The main items to note are all Treasury Management activities undertaken were within the limits set by the Fund's 24-25 Treasury Management strategy, and over the 6-month period to September, the Fund earned an average 4.97% on its cash deposits, compared with the benchmark rate over the same period, which was 4.99%. It's very close. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kieran. Can I open that up to any questions or comments, please? Oh, we have none. Okay. So let's vote for recommendation, please. All those in favour? That we endorse the actions taken. Thank you. Thank you, Kieran. That's unanimous. Moving on to item number 10, which is proxy voting. Again, before I hand over to Kieran, recommendations on page 267. I'll move that.
I'll second it, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Kieran.
Thank you, Chair. The Fund has responsibility for voting any directly held shares. The voting is undertaken on the Fund's behalf by Hermes EOS in line with the voting principles of LGPS Central. LGPS Central also engages with the companies it has holdings in, and this is reported in its quarterly stewardship update, and the most recent update, up to June, discusses, among other things, opportunities for generating cleaner energy under the new UK government. An overview of the Hermes EOS voting activity and Central's engagement work is shown in the report and is published on the Fund's website on a quarterly basis. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kieran. Any questions or comments from members, please? Okay, I see none. Okay, so therefore we will note that report. Thank you. Moving on to item number 11, the LAPFA Forum business meeting. The recommendation is on page 270. I'll move that. Thank you, sir. And Kieran, would you take us through this report?
Thanks. The Local Authority Pension Fund Forum was formed in 1990 to provide an opportunity for the UK's local authority pension funds to discuss investment and shareholder engagement issues. It exists to assist administering authorities discharge their statutory responsibilities and promote the long-term investment interests of UK local authority pension funds. Hybrid business meetings were held, hybrid LAP business meetings were held in July and October. The July meeting included a discussion about investor engagement with companies which operate in many of the world's conflict-affected high-risk areas, wherein companies should undertake augmented human rights and environmental due diligence. The October meeting, which incorporated the AGM, included a discussion on the aviation emissions and the technological and even social change that would be required to substantially reduce this. There were also presented updates on LAP's company engagement work up to the end of September 24. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kieran, and thanks again for attending the meetings. Any questions or comments from members, please? No? Okay, so that report is noted. Thank you. Item number 12 is the Pension Fund Annual Report for the year 23-24. Again, before I hand over to Kieran to introduce the report, I'd like to move the recommendation, which is on page 274. Thank you. Please present the report. Thank you.
Thank you. The Local Government Pension Scheme Regulations 2013 require administering authorities to prepare the Pension Fund Annual Report and publish it on or before the 1st of December following the year end. This report should contain references to the management and financial performance during the year, the fund's investment policy and a review of the performance of the fund's assets, administration arrangements, a funding statement by the Actuary, the fund account and net asset statement with supporting notes, a progress on investment pooling, and the current versions of the fund's strategy statements. The draft version of the annual report is attached, and after today's meeting, this draft version will be updated with the most recent strategy statements and the final audited version of the pension fund statement of accounts and any other changes required by committee. It will then be posted on the fund's website prior to the 1st of December. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Kieran. Do any members have any questions or comments, please, on the annual report? No? Okay. Well, I'd just like to say thank you very much for doing it. There's a lot of information there. It's getting bigger and better every year. So, and I think it keeps people well informed about what we do and when we do it as well. So, thank you. So there's been no comments or alterations, so that report is noted. Thank you. Moving on to item number 13, it's the government's call for evidence on the pensions investment review. So before I hand over to Tamsin, the recommendation, page 372, I'll move. I'll second it. Thank you very much. Tamsin, would you like to take us through this report?
Thank you, Chair. Members will be aware of the recent call for evidence on asset pooling, opportunities in private assets and investing in the UK, which we discussed at the last meeting. The response was prepared in consultation with the Chair and Vice Chair of the Committee, pension fund officers, the Fund's independent advisor, partner pension funds and LGPS Central. The response in Appendix A was submitted on the 25th of September and a copy was circulated to pension fund committee members. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Tamsin. The timing of this report obviously is quite interesting, with the recent indications, not necessarily an announcement yet, waiting for the Mansion House statement by the Chancellor of the Exchequer. So I don't really want to enter into a big debate about this. I really want to see what the details are, how they want to do it, etc., etc. But it does seem a little, what's the word? Difficult that we've been spending a lot of time feeding back to governments of both kinds about what we think about the future of our local pension funds, and that there seems to be decisions being taken out of our hands. But that's me for now. Would anybody else like to comment, please? Chris.
Just briefly, I mean, as a former member of this committee, I was quite vociferous in my objections to the last government's interference in pension funds, which have managed to successfully look after themselves for years without central government interference or direction. And I see that the new Chancellor is picking up from where Brandon Lewis left off in trying to take us into these multi-funds. And I welcome the contents of the report. Not being a normal sitting member of this committee, it's the first opportunity I'd actually had to read the as our response to the submission, and I welcome the fact that it makes the point that if the objective of creating mega funds is to encourage additional UK investment, it would have exactly a diametrically opposed effect in terms of Nottinghamshire Pension Fund, in that it would reduce our ability to make UK investments. And they cite Australia and Canada as the way forward. I think the Chancellor actually said this is the way in which all funds should be managed. And I'm sure that the Ontario Pension Fund is looking at its investments in Thames Water and thinking what a good idea that was. So, I thank you, Tamsin. I thank you for the fact that we're quite strong in this, that if it ain't broke, why fix it? Leave us alone.
Thank you, Chris. Lee, Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Chairman. I agree with everything Councillor Barnfather said there, and I would say this letter is an entirely sensible response. I think it is a bit of a concern, but it's 86 local managed funds could be merged into 8 mega funds. So for context, that's 360 billion for over 6 million members. And is that going to be used as a slush fund for government expenditure? Will the definition of fiduciary duty be redefined to something we might not see as fiduciary? As a curveball, back in 2013, English councillors were excluded from a local government pension fund, but Welsh and Scottish councillors are still included. Conceivably, when you merge it into 8 mega funds, our monies, as in Nottinghamshire's, could be back in councillor pensions from Wales or Scotland, as an example. Should this pension fund maybe write to the government about primary legislation at Westminster to address that disparity one way or another? Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, thank you. I'm sure there will be another set of consultations that happen before this gets implemented. I don't think they can go and do it. And there's a lot of obviously legal stuff as well, local authority legal stuff to get through. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. So we will certainly make our views very strongly heard. Absolutely, totally. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Chapman. Oh, Councillor Clark, you were first, yes.
It's just, Chair, I wonder how we're going to scrutinise this, because this has just been landed on I've seen it on here on the news today, you know. We need to scrutinise it because it could have a massive effect on what could happen in the future for us and future people that are going to benefit from our fund. And I'm with Chris on this one at the moment. There needs to be somebody in there that's keeping a close eye on this.
I can't answer that question now, but certainly we've got our eye on the ball. Can assure you of that. Yes, absolutely. Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, I remember when the previous government introduced this, I think I was probably the only person in the room that was supportive against party line. So, you know, I'm not going to change now. I am supportive for macroeconomic reasons. And I think the macroeconomics will, in the end, reflect upon the local economics. We do have to get investment into the country. We're underinvested, and but what my main point is, if we go in guns blazing, say, well, it won't be guns blazing, right? Putting up barriers and saying we're not interested, leave us alone, right? You're going to get nowhere, right? So what you have to do is box clever, right? And we need to get into the detail. I mean, my two worries about it are, right, quite simply preserving the interests of the members and their returns, which has got to be, I would say, I said primary, but you've also got to think long term about it, not just in the short term. And the second one is protecting the ability to invest in small firms as well. I think they're the two critical issues. Small firms are absolutely critical to the economy, and the danger of a whacking great fund is if it doesn't have an element in there that is dedicated to small firm investment, then I think we will lose a lot. On the other hand, I don't see why a large organisation can't specifically target small firms. So I do think we need to be looking at the detail as well as, all right, if we are deciding we're going to put the barriers up, right, don't look as though we're just, you know, a bunch of retrogrades, right? Let's box clever. Thank you.
Well said. Good comment. Thank you. Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Really, just to add my support to most of the comments we've heard here. We don't know the detail yet, but I think most of us have probably got little alarm bells ringing in the back of our heads, and we also need to be, or as sure as we can be, that the government and the decision makers actually understand what we do and all the other local government pension funds do around the country. As we heard earlier on, that there are some that are better than others. We are particularly good, and it would be such a shame that in the interest of big is better, if there's any danger that we might find ourselves not doing as well as perhaps everyone thought we would. But I do take your point that this is probably a very long process that will have to be gone through, and I'm sure there are alarm bells ringing here and there, and there are probably bells of anticipation in a positive way as well. But let's see how it all pans out. But we've got to be absolutely sure what we, as our committee and fund, we need to be absolutely sure of what our stance is, and also get a thorough understanding of potential implications.
Thank you very much. Any further questions or comments? William. Oh, sorry, Sue.
I mean, it was only a small comment, really. Clearly, this has landed in this morning's news without any warning about it whatsoever. It was never mentioned in the manifesto of the Labour Party that they were going to do it, and they just seem to let things land on people's desks without any forewarning. And I hope they give the consultation to this proposal that we would all expect, and it isn't rushed through as other things have been done regarding other parts. For instance, solar farm in Lincolnshire was rushed through. I hope this has more time for consultation.
Okay, thank you very much. I think my final comment for this is that actually, you know, we're saying our fund, we've got to remember that this is our members' money. And we need to see the best interests of the people of Nottinghamshire and a little bit wider, because I know that people move out and other companies are active elsewhere. So that's the most important thing for me, that fiduciary duty to our members. William.
Just a few comments. I'm told that the Mansion House speech will be followed by the publication of the Pension Investment Review before the end of this month, and I suspect it might come out very shortly after today. I have been told, on fairly good authority, that there will be a consultation. I think it has to be, as Councillor Saddington has said. Just one kind of reminder that if by 8 super funds the Chancellor really means the 8 pools, and I think she does, who are the owners of those pools? And the answer, of course, is funds like Nottinghamshire Pension Fund or the Authority. So we still have some say in what happens.
Thank you for that, William. Okay, no further comments or questions? Okay, sorry, the recommendation was that we've noted the report. Thank you. Okay, so that's the final open part of the meeting. I'm now sorry, work programme. Yeah, item number 14, right at the back of this watch. Okay. The recommendation is on page 3.
Could I just make a correction? It was in the Labour manifesto. I've just looked it up.
It was it. Okay. Page 380 of the agenda pack recommendation is that we review the work programme. I'll propose that. Thank you. Tamsin, would you like to take us through the work programme?
Thank you, Chair. In the appendix, you can see the work programme for the rest of the committee meetings of the current cycle. The committee is asked to identify any additional reports required. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tamsin. Any questions or comments about work programme, everybody? It looks quite busy, doesn't it? So, and it may get busier with things going on. No questions or comments? Okay, so can we approve the work programme, please? All those in favour? Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, at this stage, can I thank Mr. Raisin, John, and Tilani for your attendance this morning. Thank you very much for your report, and no doubt you'll be back again soon, hopefully, for another one. Thank you. Oh, you don't have to go yet. I've not excluded you yet, have I? Item number 15 is exclusion of the public. We now move to the part of the agenda that proposes we meet in closed session to consider the exempt information in agenda item 16. I therefore invite the committee to resolve that the public be excluded from the remainder of the meeting on the grounds that the discussions are likely to involve the disclosure of exempt information as described in section 12A of the Local Government Act 1972, and the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing information. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you. Okay, can we have a vote to show hands on exclusion? Okay, that is unanimous, so I'm sorry I can't change my mind on that one for you. So thank you very much for coming along. And we can close the online streaming, can't we? Thank you. And it's done. And that's done. Okay.